Okay? We'll see you on the plane. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
President Trump there with an impromptu news conference with the press corps that's traveling with him in Nevada before he returns back here to D.C. I want to turn to our panel now. Susan Del Percio, a Republican strategist and MSNBC political analyst. Atima Omara, president of Omara Strategy Group and former president of Young Democrats of America. And Eliza Collins, politics reporter for USA Today. Eliza, I'll start with you. The president talked about a number of different topics there. Saudi Arabia prominent among them. He also, I think, mentioned the fact that there is a lot of money tied up in Saudi Arabia, talking about that $450 billion in equipment, speaking about it being difficult to cancel some of the dealings with Saudi Arabia. What's your take on what he had to say about that as it relates to Jamal Khashoggi?
Right. So that has been his line all along. He says that he does not want to cancel this big arms deal with Saudi Arabia because it would cost jobs here at home. That's an argument kind of directly to his base, to believe that he is sort of bringing back jobs, the economy, America first. But that argument is even in contrast with a lot of Republicans on the Hill. We've seen real bipartisanship between Democrats and Republicans who are very upset about Saudi Arabia's kind of changing explanations on this. We saw the newest explanation last night being that Khashoggi did in fact die in the consulate, but because of a fist fight. They started out saying he left right after he walked in. So we've seen a real change in that. The administration has not exactly said which way or the other they rule on it, but the president continuing to say that he will do business with them does put some people uncomfortable, and including people in his own party who would like a tougher stance against Saudi Arabia.
Susan, the president also talked about Mexico, saying that he appreciated Mexico's efforts at its southern border. As we've been watching, I think there was an estimate of about 3,000 migrants moving toward the Mexican border from Honduras and Guatemala. So he's talking about immigration again and again. Is this a winning issue, a winning sort of way to frame this for Republicans and for the president?
It is for the president. This is how he got elected. Let's not forget that. It was on build the wall. But what the president, I think, particularly likes about it is that there's a visual to go along with it. And it's a scare tactic. Let's not forget, the only way the president knows how to fight is to scare people. He only knows how to divide people. And that's what he's doing, and hoping it will lead to a win in November. Of course, that will be just a win on the Senate side, because in the House, the swing districts will not go Republican. They will most likely go Democrat.
Atima, we also heard the president mention a middle-class tax cut. He's saying that we might see something on that by the beginning of November. What's your read on that? Is this a signal that the last tax cut didn't quite do what they had hoped?
Yeah, it certainly didn't do what they hoped. They had tried to use it in some of the special elections, especially for Connor Lamb in Pennsylvania. They tried to use that as a selling point. It hasn't landed because that tax cut was for the wealthiest of Americans, and it didn't do anything to relieve the tax burden for middle-income to low-income Americans. So I'm sure that he's clearly using this, whether it's actually going to become any form of legislation, because since the House is out of session and the Senate is still kind of around, really as more of a election talking point.
Eliza, as we've been watching the president make this Western swing, he's talked a lot about what he's done as he's been campaigning for other people. He's really been making a point to talk more about Donald Trump. Is this something that he thinks is going to bode well for these people who are running for office in this midterm election?
Yes. The president thinks that he is sort of the reason. If the base thinks that he is basically on the ballot, of course he is not. But if they're able to tie these candidates to him, he believes they will show up. He thinks that some of this base is just not excited about Congress. He's been very open about that. He says that people tell him all the time they wouldn't show up. So his argument is, basically, think of it as if I'm on the ballot. Look at all these things I did. We need Republicans to keep pushing forward. Now, I'm not sure if that's going to be effective, because in places like Nevada, where he just was, or Arizona, where there's really competitive races, Nevada, Hillary Clinton won. So I'm not sure how effective it is to basically remind everybody how close he is to these candidates. But it certainly is a base turnout technique.
Atima, the president also mentioned Vice President Joe Biden, saying that he hopes that he is the nominee in 2020. He also took a shot at Elizabeth Warren, at Cory Booker in his briefing there with the press. What's your read on mentioning those names and sort of taking that sort of aggressive stance with Joe Biden, with Cory Booker, with Elizabeth Warren?
Well, President Trump is doing what he does best, which is trying to find a way to make it look like he's always constantly fighting someone. He feels better as sort of a politician when he's positioning himself as opposing someone. That's what gets him excited at rallies. That's what he does. So, for him, he's trying to pivot to 20 because that's the thing that most excites him the most. But right now, it does not really look good for his party. Since 2016, we've had 43 legislative seats that have flipped from Republican control to Democrat. Democrats are favored going into the 2018 elections on the generic ballot by close to 10 points, and turnout enthusiasm is the highest that it's been amongst Democrats and those who are likely to vote Democrats in years. So he probably should be more worried about keeping control of Congress if he wants to get anything still done.
And Susan, what's your thought on that, sort of trying to look Joe Biden in the eye, thinking about 2020? What's your read on what the president said here?
Well, the president always, like was just said, he likes to have an enemy. He likes to find nicknames for people. He likes to go on the attack. But it's always about the president. 2018, in the president's mind, is about him because everything centers around the president in his own mind, of course.
All right, ladies, I appreciate you making some time here. Susan Del Percio, Atima Amara, and Eliza. We'll see you a little bit later in the hour. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks.